Welcome to the Moms I Know with Sheila Walsh-Denton and Maria Anderson-Farner. Two moms on a mission to reclaim childhood and take you from surviving to thriving on your parenting journey. The Moms I Know is your go-to source for motivation, inspiration, and resources, and real conversation about motherhood and parenting with intention. Thank you for being a part of our community. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Nikola Tesla said, if you wish to understand the universe, you must first think of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Wow, what an incredible introduction and fabulous quote to welcome Kelly Kennedy to our podcast today. So welcome to the Moms I Know. Thank you, Kelly, for being here. This is so exciting for me. For all of our listeners, I met Kelly Kennedy at a recent female frequency upgrade workshop and retreat that was just profound. I was incredibly inspired and am so grateful to have you here as a guest today to let our audience hear this incredible wisdom. So I'm going to read just a tiny little bit of your bio, which we'll get into so much more as we unfold this interview today. But after 23 years of building a health and wellness practice based in bioregulatory medicine, Kelly is now paving the way for a new wellness system to blossom, a bioregulatory system where therapists, doctors, and specialists work collaboratively within a paradigm that focuses on allowing the innate intelligence of each unique individual to truly heal the body. And this concept of heart-centered healing that we are going to be talking about is so powerful. So welcome, Kelly. And these days, it's exciting to have you here. So these days, parents are grappling with so very much. I mean, when Sheila and I started this podcast 4 years ago, we were seeing this huge change of pace in family dynamics, and we really felt that people needed more support than ever before. And then in the past, of course, 2 years, life has changed dramatically. And so we want to hear your story today. And then after we have heard that, we also want to hear a little bit about your ideas and thoughts for how parents can best approach this concept of true family healing. So with that, I want to just give this time over to you. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. And I really appreciate being here. I mean, I know in my heart, which is what this is going to focus on, is that when I do anything, whether it's a podcast for somebody or I'm reading a book or something, that I really try to stay in the flow state to find what gravitates for me. And it's funny how many things came up about parenting for me in the last 7 days. And I don't really honestly know what my schedule is until the morning of. Somebody else manages my schedule. And so when I saw this on the schedule today, I thought, oh, that's funny. That's funny because of how many things I've gone through. And just in the last couple of weeks. So thank you for asking me, because it helped a lot of healing in my life, because it started to handle the vibrational side to make me present about so many things. But my story really, from a healthcare perspective and my journey in my life, was I was raised in a really loving family that did the best that they could, for what they knew. And organized religion and so forth. And with a traditional medical model that they followed. My father had Hodgkin's disease. He had cancer many times. And I became aware of that when I was about 7. And he had been given Hodgkin's disease diagnosis many times. Oh, you're only going to live for 3 months, and live for much longer than that. And he didn't die until I was 20 years old. And he died after a couple of complications of a stroke. And in that same year, right prior to him dying, I was in a car accident when I was at Cornell University studying pre-med, wanted to become a doctor, wanted to really selfishly, Maria, wanted to not get cancer. Nobody could tell me how to not get cancer. Nobody could tell me if I wasn't going to die if I got cancer, or how to prevent cancer. So I thought, well, I'm pretty studious. So maybe if I become a doctor, I'll figure out how to not get cancer. And if I get it, how to not die from it. And that's really where my journey started. And then it took a serious left turn in my first year at Cornell when I was in a horrible car accident. And I had lacerated my spleen. I have a 12-inch scar on my head. I compressed a couple vertebrae, lost a couple inches of height, lived in ICU for quite a few days. And then a month later, my father had that first stroke. 10 months later after that, another stroke, and died in that November. I was in the car accident in December. That following November, he passed. And I was pre-med at Cornell, taking all sorts of, do you believe in God? Do you believe in creationism or evolution? Do you medical ethics classes, biochemistry classes, and literally had to take a semester off because I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I knew that I was living on painkillers and muscle relaxers. And prior to the car accident, I was living on birth control pills for poor cycles. I was dealing with antibiotic tetracycline for acne. I was living on asthma medication and Actifed back in the day for allergies. So at 20, I was on 6 medications and a 55-year-old father that was dead, and went, I'm thinking maybe they don't have this chronic illness, chronic pain thing figured out. I wouldn't say that I said it so lightly then. I was a very bitter, angry woman, particularly with all the drugs that I was on, I'm sure contributed to my liver feeling very unsupported and feeling very angry. But I really was a seeker, always was, and still am. And what I seek is to feel good. Like I want to feel alignment with what's going on. And I literally was outside the hospital when they first put my father in, and I was smoking a cigarette. And I looked at the cigarette in my hand and I was like, what the hell am I doing? My 55-year-old father lays in a hospital bed. I put the cigarette out. I never smoked again. And I started to question myself and what I had always been told, because I was living on painkillers and muscle relaxers, and he was obviously not going to get out of this hospital. So that began a journey. I was in Ithaca, New York, and I went to every wackadoo practitioner, as well as neurologist, orthopedic specialist, pain specialist, support groups, as well as the Reiki specialist and the hypnotherapist. And then after about 2.5 years of my journey, somebody told me to go get a massage. And I was like, a massage? What, are you kidding me? Like, you think that's going to touch me? And it was the first relief I had felt. It was very acute relief. Like as soon as she stopped touching me, the relief was gone, to be honest with you. But then about a year after that, I was introduced to Chinese herbs, and I started taking some nutritional Chinese herbs. And then about 6 months after that, I was introduced to this man who did emotional release technique. I don't even know what that was. And started working. I was actually going to go to him for pain originally. The first time I went to him was because I was working. I had graduated from Cornell at that point with a degree in biology, had no idea how I was going to use it, was very sure I didn't want to go into medicine, had a nutrition undergraduate degree, double major, and was really like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this very expensive piece of paper. I don't want to go into medicine. And I started working in a sales company selling water filters, air filters, nutritional products, skincare, body care, things that really made a lot of sense to me, but zero sales skills. I mean, I'm comfortable talking to you, knowing maybe perhaps billions of people will listen to this. Today, that was not me at 20 years old. I was scared of my own shadow and scared of my own, reflection in the mirror. So when I started selling these products, I was really bad at it. And I was having to have like 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. And student loans were starting, because I was like 4 months now out of school, and going, okay, I have an Ivy League degree. I'm selling products that I'm not good at, have no sales experience. And the gentleman who owned the company was very aware of emotional release technique and had practitioners doing that. And so I went to this gentleman for sales. And within 3 weeks, such significant changes had changed in the sales that I was making that I literally said, the only thing I've done is go see that wacky guy that pushed on my arm and made me think about things and cry. I'm going to go back and see if he handles pain. So I called the office, still living on Vicodin and Flexeril, still living on all those medications. And hand to God, within 30 days, I was weaning myself off of Vicodin and Flexeril. And when I went back to his office after that first hour visit, and then I went back for my second visit, I literally said to him, how'd you do that? And he goes, energy. And I go, huh? What's energy? And he goes, cool, huh? And Maria, he was so happy and satisfied with that answer. Energy, cool, huh? And I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, I know what energy is from ATP and the Krebs cycle, but what are you talking about? How did you do that? And I don't know, but I'm going to hang out with you right here next to your coat because I'm not ever letting this go. I don't ever want my pain to come back. And that was 24 years ago. And he's now my husband and we have a child. Present to your—
Wow. Fast forward.
Yeah, I fast forward a long time, but I knew since a young kid that my father's illness was hid from me because I was so young until they couldn't hide it anymore because they thought he was going to die. And then he didn't die. And my mother and my parents were very much about prayer. And so whenever my father would get really sick, my mother would make us go and get on our hands and knees and pray. And then I didn't think that ever worked because that's just not where I was at. And I want to know physically what I could do, what we could eat. At 16, I went to his oncologist with him. Like, we got to change his diet. It's got to be in his diet. And they said, oh, diet doesn't matter. But somehow I knew different. And just 4 years later, when he had passed and I found myself at Cornell doing nutritional research, I knew that there was other ways to heal. And I was seeing all these practitioners in Ithaca that were very different than the allopathic, but nothing was helping at that point. It didn't matter what I did, except for the massage took away a little acute pain momentarily, and then it would come back. But there was nothing resolving. And what I knew was my father, they never changed his diet. They never changed his lifestyle. And he was dead at 55, having had cancer 7 times. So they didn't have it figured out. Since a little kid, when I played Barbies or whatever, I was the businesswoman that was the doctor that didn't have a family, I wanted to change the world. I wanted to help people in medicine. I wanted to teach people. I didn't even know what the heck I was going to teach them. I just know I wanted to do that. I wanted to train doctors. I wanted to train people how the body worked, because honestly, I just wanted to know how the body worked. And it was clear in my early 20s that allopathic medicine had great acute care, and God bless them, they saved my life after that car accident. But chronicity wise, they couldn't help. They couldn't help my dad with all his chronic illness. So there was more to figure out. And I just kept seeking and seeking. And when Ian said energy, and I felt so different in my body, I knew that I had to figure this out. And I hung out with him for 10 years in different businesses and different clinics and different things until we were exposed at a training to a European approach to biological medicine. And we started studying in Switzerland and in the United States with a Swiss group. And they started talking about terrain medicine and the energy field around the cells and how we're more lymph fluid than we are blood, and how, the meridians of the body and the doshas of the body, the chakras of the body, the energy field of the body. I was like, oh, and the live blood analysis and the contact regulation thermography and heart rate variability. And there's quantitative assessments of this energy, this life force inside your body. And I was like, oh, we found it. We found the science behind this energy. And so I dived deep into that energy and did all that physical medicine. We had many medical doctors that worked at our centers that were doing IVs and injections and doing lab work and doing neural therapies and doing all sorts of physical medicine, which I truly still love. Yet I had to come full circle going back to that story when I started working with Ian. So 3 years after I got better, after the car accident with Ian, and then I was working in that same company that I had found him through for about 4 years. When the company closed, he and his current wife at the time had asked me to come up and help run their centers. And I was so excited about it. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I was about 2 months into that when they both sent me to a Buddhist monastery and said, you need to learn how to be. And I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? Because for like 2 months prior to that, they're like, go in the other room and be. And I'm like, well, okay, what do you want me to do? You want me to meditate? You want me to read a book? You want me to do yoga? What do you want me to do? They're like, we want you to be. Well, what does that mean? I don't understand. It was like that previous conversation of energy. And I was like, are we speaking the same language? Like, what do you want me to do? We don't want you to do anything. We want you to be. Okay, be what? What do you want me to be? And through all the years of physical medicine, while it was very present, that lesson, I wasn't getting it until I experienced it. I had been meditating for years, but not well. I kept waiting to see that magic curtain. And then I was exposed to Sound of Soul, and my friend developed Flow Prezzo within a 3-month time period, which are two technologies that take this ancient wisdom of what we know, that the innate intelligence of the body is all that heals, and allows us to experience that. And so through these two technologies, I experienced flow. I experienced being. I wasn't working so hard, as my husband said on a previous Instagram, at being. I was actually just being. And I'd already become a mom at that point. And I really saw my issues in my son and trying to parent him without parenting him, because I knew better. I knew that we were here as guides, not as dictators. Yet I'd never experienced how to teach somebody else how to flow when I had barely learned it myself and hadn't yet to really experience it until about 3 years ago.
It's so interesting to see the emotion come up. You know, this is the whole thing about this parenting, as, you know, our children are our greatest teachers, and we have our stories, and then they come along to help us really see ourselves. And, you know, we say sometimes parenting is a spiritual journey. So I love hearing, you know, the backstory, and now getting into this and really hearing what's going on. So thank you so much. I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no, and when we decided, so when I had changed my mind, because I never wanted to have kids or have a family, that was never it. But I had been with Ian for 12 years at the time. And we'd been through a lot. We ran businesses together and everything else. And I saw a light in him when his goddaughter was born, who she wasn't his goddaughter when he was born. She asked to be his goddaughter when she was about 2. But prior to that, when she was about 2-3 months old, when we first had met her, I saw a light in him that I had never seen. And that's what they say, when you meet the right man, then you want to have a baby. And I didn't want that to be true. But then all of a sudden I was like, I think that's true. But, you know, he had been married 3 other times. We'd been together for 12 years. He's 16 years older than me. There was a lot of stuff that was like, no, no, no. And then all of a sudden I was like, I want to do that with him. I want to experience that joy with him. While I never wanted to necessarily have a baby, I always wanted to experience pregnancy, because that's so fascinating to me from a biological perspective. Like, oh my God, what did that be like?
Yeah.
So I waited a year before I mentioned to him that I wanted to have a child. And I was prepared for him to walk out the door, in all honesty. And he was not that. He was completely supportive. He has a son that's 27 years older than our son together. And he was like, okay, all right. And so we talked about the name. Was a big deal for him, right? Ian, you can imagine what he's gone through his whole life. And I have the most common name on the planet, Kelly. So I was like, let's come up with something unique. So we came up with Silas, which he got from the Bible, which I got from a HBO show. And we were in agreement. And then he is great at anagrams. And he said, well, really, Silas means summoned in love and spirit.
Beautiful.
And Silas really is just that. It was a very conscious decision to have a child. It was very conscious. I was 39 years old when we had him, and Ian was 55. And we were very conscious parenting. And I saw what I thought I had healed: my anger, my frustration, my impatience, my lack of self-love, that was translated to my son and his way of being. And I knew I had to be a better version of me in order to lead by example and help him to not take 40 years to stop learning to beat yourself up, to do it right away. And he is so full of light and so full of a mirror that he has been the best teacher I've ever had. And when I experienced flow, I became a better person, a better woman, a better wife, a better lover, a better partner, a better practitioner, and certainly a better mom. Because I have, as much as I fight it still this day, I know that my goal is, I shouldn't say I fight it, race. I find sometimes I still have resistance to it, that it impresses me how deep those cords are, that when all I want him to do is follow his own guidance. I just want that to not be what he has to overcome, like so many of us have to overcome in our journeys of wellness, of abundance, whether that's financial or health wise or relationship wise, whatever abundance we're lacking, it's typically because we've learned to not follow our own guidance in some way, and we've cut ourselves off from some level of abundance. And as a prior type A personality, orthorexic, compelled to neatness, control freak prior, I thought I had gotten to a point in my life that I was ready to have a kid, because I felt like I'd cleared enough of my own crap that I wasn't going to put it on him. And then I had him, and I did acupuncture every week. And then let's talk about his birth. He was 17 days late and I was 39.
So talk about, we can't control this.
And I know better, like, I'm this like not medicine woman, more like a medicine woman than into medicine. Right. But we did do a sonogram at 12 weeks, just to verify the muscle test that what we were going to have. Cause I was too impatient to buy anything, and I wanted to buy clothes, and I wanted to know if it was a boy or girl. So we find out it's a boy. I was a little shocked. My husband was so excited. And then on the due date, I literally at 6:00 at night went, I don't understand. Why is he not here yet? He only has 6 hours. And I know that labor is going to take a little while because it's my first baby. And like, what is happening? Why is he not here? By 2 weeks in, I was like, oh my God, he needs to come out. He's so like, I'm growing bigger and bigger every day. By 17 days, forget I had done all of it. The primrose, the acupuncture needles all over my body, my toes and my ankle, and all the best acupuncturists that had 100% success all of a sudden wasn't working. Finally, I had to drink castor oil because I was going to have that child at home. And he was born in our home after a lot of puking and bowel movements because of the castor oil. But it started peristalsis, and the peristalsis started the labor pain. So it all worked out. But when he came out, and of course it was pushing and back and pushing and back, I had no idea. I thought you push a little bit, he stayed there, not push him all the way out. Little did I know. So from that moment of him pulling his head out and putting him on my breast and him looking at me, I never felt the same. I looked at him and was like, oh. I looked at my husband. I was like, I love you still, but I had no idea I could love anything this much. Like, holy cow. And then the real journey began, and all my stuff started to show up, and he would push books out of my hand. I thought I was going to read for 6 weeks during maternity leave. I'm breastfeeding. He pushed books right out of my hand at 2 days old, pushing books with his legs. I was like, okay, this kid's here to teach me something. And he's told me about, oh, really? Your phone's more important than I am? Oh, that's by 2 years old, he started saying that. He's really been a great teacher to teach me that the vibration, the connection of him and I together is stronger than anything. And that my goal is to help him find where that chord is, where that knowing is, and to just let everything else go. And if that knowing is, ice cream at 8:00 at night, then regardless of what I might know about sugar and all the other things, me fighting it doesn't do any good. And, and that has been a huge lesson for me, because I was a bit of a food Nazi when prior, and I've had to the first 4 years, he was great. He ate everything I put in front of him. And then he started to get older and was like, these sardines that you have in front of me, they are not really what I want to eat. Can I have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Because all my friends are eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
And you still have the teen years to look forward to, which are just...
He is amazingly funny and aware and listens to everything and just nabs us on everything. And I know that my ability to be his mom is really the gift that he gave me to teach me how to love myself, so I could really love him, so he can love himself and find his own inner guidance. And for 3 years, he's 8. For at least 3 years, he has said these words to me so many times. Well, it's my body. Well, it's my body. It's not your body. Okay, fair enough. heard. What am I going to do?
The wisdom of the children. It's so interesting to see that your journey. I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, we could go into so many different aspects of this, from the healing perspective, from the parenting perspective, from the, control, all of these things. But you've said a couple of things that I really want to focus in on right now. And the fact that you have shared so vulnerably. So, we can hear this journey, and we can hear, Sheila and I talk often about this concept of the children, coming to us, and we get to do all of this together. It's a dance. And also that we are hopefully helping to raise this generation without all of the stuff that we've been holding, so that they can be truly healthy, that they can truly create what it is that this universe is supposed to unfold into. And so there are a couple of the key things, this to be, that we're human beings, not human doings, the idea of flow, and then the vibration, because, you spoke at the very beginning, the whole quote and introduction is all about vibration. So I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about that, and then see where that goes.
Yeah. So one thing that I am very aware of is the words, and the words have meanings, and the words have vibrations, right? So one of the things that caught me with what you're saying, and I hope you're okay with me saying this, is that I learned about 4 years ago that I was trying to raise my child instead of cultivate my child, and that we raise cattle and we cultivate flowers, and that we should cultivate our flowers, right? And so that was the difference of me realizing that I can't tell Silas what to do. I have to teach Silas how to resonate with himself and help him cultivate that. And he's taught me how to be present with him. Being in a room with him doesn't mean I'm present with him. And in the beginning, I definitely was like with him without being present. I was on my phone while in the room with him. And now he used to do it as a baby. He'd literally put his hands on my face and like turn my face to make sure I'm literally looking at him and paying attention to what he says, because he knows that I've got diffuse awareness and I'm thinking about all these things, not just the one single focus thing that he wants me to talk about or to consider. And like, he's very in the Minecraft right now. And so he's building our dream house. And we sat down a couple months ago and all talked about together what we want our dream house to be. And so he's created this dream house, and he sent it to me I was away last weekend, and he sent it to me, the beginning of it. And then as soon as I walked in the door, he goes, "Okay, Mom, come on, you're going to sit down. You're going to watch our dream house." And for a moment, I looked down at my phone. He goes, "You're looking down at your phone, or are you looking at our dream house?" And I was like, "Well, I'm looking at our dream house." And, that energy is hugely strong. He's helping create our dream house. And I want him to be aware of that he's cultivating at home with us, because he's putting energy into it. He's creating it in Minecraft. He's making sure all the checks, the boxes are checked for what we want. And I mean, this kid firmly believes that the Philadelphia Eagles 4 years ago, I think it was, when we won the Super Bowl, is because him and I were sitting in our living room and said, "Now it's time for a defensive interception and then run it into the end zone." And that's exactly what happened. And we won the game. And so when he started playing football this year, and he was on the sidelines because he wasn't as aggressive as some of the other kids, which was really challenging for a super aggressive collegiate rowing mom to be like, "Oh my God, when's he going to get his aggression?" But I would say on the sidelines, "But babe, give them energy. Silas, just give them energy. Tell them what you need them to do." And they were the championship of their league. And, I want him to understand, whether he's physically or emotionally involved and in alignment, he's giving energy to wherever, which is why we've had conversations about YouTube. So instead of saying no YouTube, because that's not possible, we've had a conversation about, what are you watching on YouTube and what kind of energy is it resonating back to you? And yet this is a kid that loves aliens and predator. And last night he drew this amazing picture that was so scary. If this thing came to me in a bright alley, for that matter, I'd be scared out of my mind. This gross creature with this belly, the teeth over it, and this snake-like thing coming out. But that's just his imagination. That's him seeing parasites, as far as I'm concerned. That's him seeing what's coming out of people that have bad energy, because he, as a baby, when he was in our office all the time, because he was on my chest for the first 9 months, in a wrap, there were certain people that wanted to hold him, and he literally would cry with some energies and would not with others. And we were like, oh, he's his own little litmus test. He knows exactly where to go and where not to go. And we want to help encourage him and develop that skill, so he's not taught away from it. So he always knows the right direction to go. And so go ahead.
Well, and the right direction to go. And I'm going to pull it back to this idea of him actually taking your face and, making sure that your presence was there. And this is the thing that I have been seeing over and over again with our rapid pace of society these days. And that, parents are so we're all so busy. And how do we take that time to truly be in that connection, that flow with our children? And now for me, with my grandchildren. And of course, we can get distracted in so many ways. And so here, these little beings are literally, whether they're taking our faces in their hands and having us look at them, or whether they're saying, look at me, watch me, or doing behaviors that we find incredibly irritating. But then it's like, okay, how can we look at this through their eyes? And so, you're illustrating this so beautifully with this, that we are here to guide them, to be in community with them, and to be helping them to be who they are. And of course, we need to make decisions along the way, especially when they're very young, but that it's all about this vibration, the connection, and the flow. And so it's so interesting that your early work with all of this and your discoveries of this then translated into your parenting, and as a message for all of us. And, we talk about waking up, we talk about really being able to see what is right in front of our face, and our children are just trying to help us be there for them. So I love this whole full circle.
And it is a full circle, and boundaries, healthy relationship and boundaries is, I think, what Silas has taught me more than anything, is because I don't want to, and with all the emotional release that we do, I'm very aware that the first 10 years of your life are when you're the most impressionable, and when the tracks lay down and give you the healthy relationship trends or the lack thereof. And so that was one of the reasons I didn't want to have kids after I got in this work, was like reinforcing why I don't want to have kids. Oh my God, all you do is screw them up, and there's no way to do it right. That being said, I know that Silas still has plenty of issues, and I'm sure that he'll work out throughout his life, because his father and I are so very different. But where we are common, it's really cool to see, because he just thrives. But we are so polar opposites in other ways that you see that inner conflict, and our job isn't to fix that for them, it's to watch it. And what I was going to say with boundaries is that I also didn't want to be the kind of parent that my whole life revolved around my kid, where, I would leave work early, which was my passion, my drive, so that I could take him to 14 lessons throughout, the week, and make sure that they're so busy. Yet, what about my passion? What about my life? And I travel a lot, and that's been a bit of a challenge for me to balance that out. And so him and I have found ways, we call it 7-11. So we talk at 7, 11, and 7 when I travel, because we know that we're loving each other. And if he's in school, he looks at the clock at 11, and we send each other signals, whether we're on the phone or we're just in vibrational world phone. But it's, I've also made the negotiation, might be the right word, to say to Silas, okay, I hear you. It's Saturday, and the day is really about our family, and there's these 3 things I have to do. So what we're going to do is from 10 to 12, I get to be on my phone, answer my emails, all that. So it's off my plate. We'll spend the morning together, have a nice breakfast. And then at noon, we're going to have the rest of the day together. And now he's not he's both called me out on my phone to make sure I'm not on it too much, but I've also been like, hey, but I got to do what I want to do as well. And this isn't just about you. This isn't just about you getting all the things that you want either, that we're in community together. And this is about how can we work together? How can we jive together so that you're getting out of your day what you want, and I get out of my day what I want, and we get out of our day what we want. And I'm praying that as he continues to mature, that he stays present to that so that he doesn't have as much conflict as so many of us have, because life should be easy and joyful. It shouldn't be full of strife, that there's plenty of other ways to create hormesis in the body to make sure we're constantly expanding. It doesn't have to be in our emotional world. It's just that's been so underdeveloped in our society versus highly developed. And I look forward to this next generation of kids that have very conscious parenting due to programs like you and your partner have done, which is beautiful, amazing work, and is so necessary to help really heal what's happening, why people overeat, why people make poor lifestyle choices and so forth. Isn't because, nobody quits a job because the job sucks. They quit a job because of the boss. Kids don't turn out bad kids because they're bad kids inherently. Everybody's inherently beautiful in their heart. They turn out bad kids because of the environment that they're living in, and the lack of love that they're getting, and the lack of vibration and healing that they're getting.
Right. And it all comes down to that clear communication, the boundaries. But I love this idea of just the energy and the vibration around all of that. And that is the basis of our work, and our work as parents is to work on our own stuff so that then we can be there for our children. So, oh my goodness, what a lot of territory to cover. And we could talk about so much more. But before we wrap this up, I just want to make sure that you have an opportunity for any final thoughts that you want to share. What you would say would be the major thing for parents. I mean, we've really talked about all of the things, is to be present, but just
what came to when you said that, because I just opened myself up and said, okay, what is how to teach him how to handle all the energy he feels, how to teach him that it's okay to be angry. It's okay to go punch your stuffed animal. Just don't punch another person. It's okay to express your feelings and honor all your feelings, and how to shift your energy. And he's learned how to breathe. He's learned how to change his field by turning the TV off, going outside for a walk, playing with the dog, whatever it is. Don't stay in your funk, because he watches me go from anger to happiness pretty quickly. Like, I'm really good with that. I don't take things personally much. I mean, it happens, but much. So he'll hear me on the phone, and he loves when I get somebody like on a telemarketer or somebody that's not doing their job. And he likes to hear me like, so, and bring consciousness to whatever it is. And I can be a little stern and a little intense. And he's always like, can I go with you when you go to Kohl's to return that, blah, 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 whatever that is. And I was like, do you really like when I do that, huh? But he doesn't like it turned on him. And rightfully so. It's an intense energy coming from me. Who would want to feel that? So, and teaching him that that's going to happen at times. And I've been able to say to him, my day, mom's not in her best place right now. So I'm going to go take a break. I'm going to go outside and breathe. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go have some tea. I'm going to go do a flow presso, whatever it is, because mommy's energy needs to shift, and I'm not able to shift out of how we're feeling right now. And being okay to let our kids see that, we're working through it too. And we're not perfect, but we are perfect. And that as long as we can communicate what's happening, they can watch us. They realize that it's okay to go through that and not do it like everything isn't going to butterflies and rainbows, right? And as much as we love butterflies and rainbows, it's not all butterflies and rainbows. So it's okay. And to teach them how to go through that themselves and how to shift their own energy.
Oh, beautifully said. And I think that is my generation's challenge, is that, we had all these emotions that we were not allowed to express. And now, this generation has a lot of emotion, and how we are working with that is the journey, the dance of the future. And so thank you so much. I just really enjoy hearing your story, hearing how all of these things are coming together. And I want to make sure we let our listeners know how they can get in touch with you to learn more.
So thank you for that. So we have two websites. One is thetruewellnesscenter.com. And that is our center here in Pennsylvania. And we have some centers in South Carolina and New York where people can come and physically see us. And then more in a digital platform, it's called NotMeds, NOTSMEDS.com, Not Meds Global. And that's where we have our podcast called The Beats, which Maria is a guest on. And we're going to, that's also where we sell some equipment, and we have a lot of free videos there to teach people about the lymphatic system and so many other things, newsletters, all sorts of fun stuff.
Great. A wealth of information. So thank you so much for your time this morning. Really appreciate this. And I'm so excited to be learning much more from you myself. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you both.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us today for the Moms I Know. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. To get the show notes and resources mentioned in today's episode, visit themomsiknow.com. For information on Maria's programs, visit thefutureoffamily.com. And for information on Sheila's programs, visit purplebeetfamily.com. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and follow us on Instagram at The Moms I Know Podcast. Until next time, have a joyful family journey.